An in-depth coverage of the Black History Month program, a profile of Clarke Central's former principal, a look into the success of the robotics team, and a shocking sports mix-up, all on this episode of ODTV. Welcome to ODTV. My name is Ethan Crane and I'm here with Carla Dugan. Black History Month has long been celebrated at Clarke Central, notably through the annual Black History Month Assembly. But recently, there has been controversy as to whether or not Black history is taught enough throughout the entire school year. Here's Carla Dugan with the coverage.
Fine Arts Department Chair Dr. Anthony Rucker has been an educator at Clarke Central for decades. Rucker remembers a world much different from today in which segregation defined his daily life.
I know what sitting on the back of the bus is. I know what, like for instance, right over here at the Dairy Queen, I remember the colored side. My mother used to bring me when she brought me to Athens. We used to go to the back of the Dairy Queen to get our ice cream, what have you.
The United States government began observing Black History Month in 1976. For Rucker, the biggest purpose of Black History Month observance is to provide students with knowledge of historical racial issues in society, much like the segregation he faced as a child.
To me, it gives us the opportunity to understand our culture and understand other cultures as well. And it makes a big difference, I think, in the outlook and understanding. There's a lot of history involved here, and a lot of the history needs to be known.
At CCHS, Black History Month has long been observed. There are various events planned to honor Black history in February, the most well-known being the annual Black History Assembly.
I came to Clarke Central in 1985, and as long as I can remember, we've had the annual Black History program, and it's just a great day to get together and celebrate not only Black history, but just being together as a Clarke Central family and seeing what talent we have amongst our student body.
However, during Denham's past classroom observations, she said she has not noticed much discussion or teaching of Black history.
I think it should be integrated throughout the curriculum for all races and ethnicities. I don't know if there's ever enough of that, really, for any race or ethnicity, so I think we could do more of it.
Black Student Union President Jairicus Collins believes that Black history should be taught more throughout the school.
You don't have to just change your whole curriculum to Latino history or to Black history, but, make more classes, make a couple of classes that talk about that, or make the curriculum more structured towards talking about other ethnic groups in broader detail and not just talking about it for 2 minutes in a lesson.
Principal Dr. Robbie P. Hooker says he is a strong supporter of working to integrate Black history into everyday learning.
Growing up, Black History Month is a big occasion, but I do think if Black history was taught throughout the year as opposed to 1 month, students will appreciate it more when it does approach.
While there are currently no plans for a future expansion of CCHS's Black History Month celebration, Rucker says that the program in place gives students an introduction and provides them with a snapshot of Black history.
It's an awareness. It's not only just Black students, it's all students. An awareness of civil rights, an awareness of culture, an awareness that everything nowadays, hip-hop and all of that stem from something or came from something.
Dr. Jim Willis, former Clarke Central principal, shares his story of how he found his way into education and about his time at Clarke Central. Here's Julie Alpaugh with the profile.
On February 3rd, former Clarke Central High School principal Dr. Jim Willis returned to campus to visit and reflect on his time here. His career was influenced by his childhood.
I grew up in Macon, Georgia, 7 of 9 children, 5 boys, 4 girls. And when I grew up, we used to play step school. One of my fondest memories is when I entered 1st grade. I knew how to read and write and do some arithmetic because I had step school.
After he completed college and received his bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology, Willis joined the United States Army.
I became an educator when I got out of the Army. I had a college degree, and this was in 1969. There was something called Vietnam War going on. So I joined to keep from being drafted and put in the Marines. And when I got out, it was sort of like the flower children stuff going on. So I said, well, how can I get back to the world? And everybody was telling me I'd be a great teacher, so I became a teacher.
Prior to Clarke Central, he had worked as a middle school science teacher and both an elementary and middle school principal. Willis moved to CCHS in the beginning of the 1984 to 85 school year.
I had an opportunity to come up here as the associate principal in this school for curriculum. And so I decided, yeah, I'll make that move.
Although Willis came to CCHS as associate principal, he soon found his duties expanded beyond simply being in charge of curriculum.
When I first came here, I was in charge of all the curriculum. I mean, anything from textbook selections to evaluating teachers, pretty much anything dealing with instruction, but I also dealt with discipline, some of that stuff. And so once I became principal, I dealt with everything.
Assistant Principal Dr. Sheila Dunham is one of the few people still at CCHS that worked with Willis during his time here.
I've known him since I first started teaching, so he'll always have a special place, with me. He gave very good feedback. In those days, just like now, we got observed quite a bit in the classroom, and as a beginning teacher, it's very important to get very honest and straightforward feedback.
Willis believes he learned even more about education when he became a superintendent for the next 14 years until he retired in 2010.
But being a superintendent gave you a broader view of what education's all about. One thing it taught me was the importance of a superintendent and a board of education being a team and having a team vision.
Willis is now spending his time relaxing, painting, and reading.
I'm glad I chose education. I was recruited to go to work for Delco Remy making batteries, making 3 times more money. But I stayed because it made my life more meaningful. Yeah. And now, forgive me, I sit on my deck and look out at the geese in that V looping around and landing in my pond.
Luke Blackman, the MMA coach at Clarke Central's 21st Century After School program, teaches his students valuable life lessons through boxing, kickboxing, and wrestling. Katie Sturdivant went in-depth to discover the true meaning behind mixed martial arts.
The 21st Century Mixed Martial Arts program serves to teach students positive fighting skills for self-defense, giving kids a new skill for their lives. The program is taught at Clarke Central High School on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 o'clock until 5:30. Luke Blackman is the MMA coach at CCHS, and he hopes to teach the way of life through MMA.
It'll definitely show them some confidence to be able to deal with just about any situation. Just knowing, not only in violent situations where oh, I have to defend myself, or if somebody's trying to intimidate them, they don't have to engage in violence or anything because there's nothing to prove there.
MMA teaches people how to learn different types of fighting styles and moves. It combines boxing, wrestling, kickboxing, and submissions all in one sport.
Combos, different type of combos, punch, kick, stuff like that.
The program is supposed to teach students to take responsibilities for themselves and to still strive for their goals even in tough times.
Just the confidence of knowing that they are hard workers, knowing that even in a test where there's a lot of pressure, they can think to themselves, instead of worrying and getting stumped on an answer or something like that, they can think to themselves, hey, this is not nearly as hard as sparring in the middle of MMA class.
Blackman wants all his players, especially veterans on the team, to be there at every practice to see progression.
Well, we do this twice a week, and yeah, I expect all of it, especially all my regular guys, to show up twice a week, on time, ready to do practice, and they're supposed to be doing this stuff outside too if they really want to seriously get good.
Currently, there are 6 people in the MMA program at Clarke Central.
I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to end up at some point with 12 students in this program, and I'd like them all to be good. I'd like them all to, be able to show their things. I'd also like them all to feel comfortable enough with the techniques to where, if somebody shows up with a camera or something like that, they'll all want to be like, hey, I want to show something. I want to be the one who shows it, and it looks good.
The Clarke Central Robotics team climbed their way up to the Southern Super Regional Championship this year, doing better than they have in years. Here's Trent Slusky with a coverage on the competition and what the team went through to get there.
After placing second in the state competition, the Clarke Central Robotics team went on and competed in the Southern Super Regional competition this March. They competed with over 70 teams from around the country for a spot to move on to the World Championships. Robotics team member Marco Newman saw major improvement in the team since last year.
Well, last year we made it to regionals and we won there outstandingly, but then we made it to state and we realized there was a whole nother level of competition and we got destroyed. So this year we came into it with the idea of making it to state and doing well at state. So knowing what the state level was like, we decided to go on that basis and create a robot that was functioning for those purposes. So we made it past regionals and then we won at state. We did amazingly, our robot performed perfectly. Then we went to Texas in Super Regionals.
Marco says that this was the first time the team had made it to Super Regionals, so it was more of a learning experience to prepare the team for next year.
Most of the teams there had previously been to Super Regional competitions, and they knew what the competition was like, so they improved the robot and made everything more slick for Super Regional competition. And everything from designs we hadn't even considered to the just well-working of designs we had considered that we would never thought were possible.
Team captain and key member of the robotics team, Evan Newman, was unable to attend the competition, and this greatly affected the team.
He did a lot for this robot. He basically held our team together and was a master at nearly every single part of the field involved in robotics. And him not being able to go to the Texas competition really put a damper on us. We were on a roll from state, and we really had the momentum going for us. And then we got to Super Regionals, and when Evan wasn't there, we weren't able to solve every problem the way that he would. And since he designed and built most of the robot, it was weird for us to deal with that and come up with solutions on our own. So we functioned and we did well, but having Evan not there was a major blow to our team.
Evan says that even though he wasn't at the competition, he did as much as he could to prepare the team and teach them how to operate on their own.
I was a little disappointed at first, and I guess I did the best I could to get them ready and make sure they knew all the stuff that they were supposed to do for the robot. And hopefully, at that point, by the time the competition came around, they were ready, which I think they were.
The Gladiators got eliminated during the first round of matches at Super Regional, but even though they didn't win, the team agrees that this was a productive and successful year for Clarke Central's robotics team.
We improved in a lot of ways from last year, but this year, it was a learning experience. Next year, we hope to do better.
The 2015 NCAA men's basketball tournament kicked off last week in typical fashion, with several shocking upsets. Junior copy editor Kevin Mobley discusses one of the most exciting weekends in sports and predicts what is yet to come.
See this worthless 8.5 by 11 piece of paper? Every year about this time, I just want to take it, crumble it up, open it back up, and then tear it to shreds. The 68-team NCAA tournament is arguably the best weekend in sports. 48 basketball games, non-stop for 4 days, followed by the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and the Final Four, and this year was no exception. From right here in Georgia, with Georgia State and RJ Hunter busting brackets, to Virginia hanging around with Belmont, virtually every game has been exciting and pure madness. As we approach the Final Four, 3 1 seeds, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Duke, along with 7 seed Michigan State, are left. Personally, I'm predicting Kentucky and Duke to meet in the championship game, but with all the upsets this year, who really knows what's going to happen? Undefeated Kentucky seems to be a clear favorite, but as we all know, odds don't matter in this tournament. So take this scrap piece of paper, throw it in your trash can, and just enjoy great basketball. This has been Kevin Mobley with Odyssey Online.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of ODTV. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Odyssey Newsmag, and like us on Facebook. Additional content can be found online at odysseynewsmagazine.net. This has been Carla Dugan
and Ethan Crane
for Odyssey Online.